Two soldiers disappear. They vanish from an army base. It's 1952. The Korean War is raging. The base is Fort Campbell, Kentucky, a sprawling place straddling the border of Kentucky and Tennessee. The soldiers are Privates Aaron Shadrach and Curtis Wilson. They are both black. They are never seen again. The disappearance of Shadrach and Wilson is a cold case, a mystery. It's a story of racial tension, a story of a divided America. And it's a story that continues to haunt us today. It is a story that asks difficult questions about justice, questions about equality, questions that we are still struggling to answer. Fort Campbell is a melting pot. Soldiers from all walks of life, from all over the country, arrive at this sprawling Kentucky base. They are thrown together, forced to coexist. But America in 1952 is a segregated nation. The Army is no different. Black soldiers face discrimination, prejudice. They are treated as second-class citizens, even in the military. They are given the worst jobs. They are denied opportunities. They are subjected to racial slurs and violence. It is a powder keg ready to explode. Shadrach and Wilson are aware of this tension. They know the risks. They know that their race makes them targets, but they signed up to serve their country, to fight for freedom. They believe in the promise of America, even if America doesn't always believe in them. America in 1952 is a nation divided. Segregation is the law of the land. Black Americans are denied basic rights. They are forced to live in separate neighborhoods. They are denied access to good schools. They are denied the right to vote. They are denied the right to a fair trial. The civil rights movement is still in its infancy. Rosa Parks has yet to refuse to give up her seat on the bus. Martin Luther King Jr. has yet to deliver his "I Have a Dream" speech. America is a nation on the cusp of change, but change is slow, and it is often met with violence. The disappearance of Shadrach and Wilson takes place against this backdrop, a backdrop of racial hatred, a backdrop of violence, a backdrop of injustice. It is a story that is all too familiar, a story that is still being told today. The Army investigation into the disappearance of Shadrach and Wilson is perfunctory, half-hearted. They interview a few witnesses. They search the base, but they don't seem particularly interested in finding the truth. They don't interview everyone who might have information. They don't follow every lead. The families of the missing soldiers are devastated. They demand answers. They demand justice, but their pleas fall on deaf ears. The Army closes the case. They declare Shadrach and Wilson as deserters, a convenient explanation, an explanation that ignores the reality of racial violence. The families refuse to give up. They continue to search for answers. They write letters to congressmen. They contact newspapers. They hire private investigators, but nothing turns up. The case remains cold. Section 5. Whispers. Rumors swirl around the disappearance of Shadrach and Wilson. Whispers in the barracks, late-night conversations. Soldiers talk about what they saw, what they heard, what they believe happened. Some say that Shadrach and Wilson were murdered. They say they were victims of a hate crime. They say that their bodies were dumped in the woods. Others say that Shadrach and Wilson ran away. They say they were afraid of being sent to Korea. They say they deserted. But there is no evidence to support this theory. No sightings, no contact with family or friends, nothing. The rumors and whispers continue for years. They become part of the folklore of Fort Campbell, a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of racial hatred, a reminder of the injustices that black soldiers faced. Section 6. Theories. There are many theories about what happened to Shadrach and Wilson. Some are more plausible than others. Some are based on evidence. Some are based on speculation. But none of them can be definitively proven. One theory is that Shadrach and Wilson were killed by fellow soldiers, white soldiers who resented their presence, who wanted to teach them a lesson. This theory is supported by the fact that racial violence was common at Fort Campbell. Another theory is that Shadrach and Wilson were killed by local civilians, white supremacists who targeted them because of their race. This theory is supported by the fact that the Ku Klux Klan was active in the area. Yet another theory is that Shadrach and Wilson stumbled upon something they shouldn't have seen, something that put their lives in danger. This theory is more speculative, but it is not entirely implausible. Despite the many theories, the disappearance of Shadrach and Wilson remains unsolved. There is no evidence to definitively prove what happened to them. No bodies, no witnesses, no confessions, nothing. The case is a cold case, a mystery that may never be solved. The lack of answers is frustrating. It is infuriating. It is a reminder of the injustices that Black Americans have faced. It is a reminder that justice is not always served. It is a reminder that some stories never have a happy ending. The disappearance of Shadrach and Wilson is a story that deserves to be told. It is a story that needs to be remembered. It is a story that should make us angry. It is a story that should make us demand better. The disappearance of Shadrach and Wilson raises many questions. Questions about race, questions about justice, questions about the military, questions about America, questions that we are still struggling to answer today. Why were Shadrach and Wilson targeted? Was it because of their race? Was it because of something else? Who was responsible for their disappearance? Was it fellow soldiers? Was it local civilians? Was it someone else entirely? Why did the Army fail to properly investigate their disappearance? Was it because they didn't care? Was it because they were covering something up? What does the disappearance of Shadrach and Wilson tell us about America in 1952? What does it tell us about America today? These are just some of the questions that linger, questions that haunt us, questions that demand answers. The disappearance of Shadrach and Wilson left an unseen scar on Fort Campbell. A scar that is still visible today. It is a scar that speaks to the history of racial violence, a scar that speaks to the ongoing struggle for equality. The disappearance of Shadrach and Wilson is a reminder that the past is never truly past. It is a reminder that the sins of the past continue to haunt us. It is a reminder that we must never forget the victims of injustice. The disappearance of Shadrach and Wilson is also a reminder that we must continue to fight for justice. We must continue to demand equality. We must continue to challenge racism and discrimination. We must never give up. The disappearance of Shadrach and Wilson is a story that should be told and retold. It is a story that should be taught in schools. It is a story that should be discussed in homes. It is a story that should be remembered. The echoes of the disappearance of Shadrach and Wilson can still be heard today. They can be heard in the Black Lives Matter movement. They can be heard in the fight against police brutality. They can be heard in the struggle for racial justice. The disappearance of Shadrach and Wilson is a reminder that the fight for equality is not over. It is a reminder that we must continue to raise our voices. We must continue to demand justice. We must continue to fight for a better future. The disappearance of Shadrach and Wilson is a story that should inspire us. It should inspire us to be better. It should inspire us to do better. It should inspire us to create a world where justice prevails. The disappearance of Shadrach and Wilson is a story that will stay with you long after you finish reading it. It is a story that will haunt you. It is a story that will make you think. It is a story that will make you question. It is a story that will make you act.